wearing my traditional green tie, but it's not the same one I wore last year. It's a little different being that we're talking about money and budget. I always wear the green tie. Just let me start off by saying, obviously, this is a sad day for us at City Hall with the loss of my good friend and senior advisor and member of our management team, Vic Saunders. We continue to mourn his loss, and we'll celebrate his life by continuing on the work and being with his family. So we are extremely sad here at City Hall at the loss of Victor, and it makes this job a little bit harder today to roll out our budget. But I do want to say good morning and thank you all for joining us here today. The budget proposal that we're releasing today reflects many difficult decisions because, in a nutshell, costs are rising and revenues are flat or declining due to inflation. Nevertheless, I'm proud of this budget because it continues to fund critical services, cutting-edge programs, and transformative projects that are propelling the momentum we started building 3 years ago to move Rochester forward. And I'm especially proud to say that this budget holds the tax levy flat for the 4th year in a row. We were able to accomplish that by drafting a budget that reflects, as I know my staff gets tired of me saying, the we, not me, all of us working together governing style that has been the hallmark of my administration. So I like to begin today by expressing my gratitude to the many partners in that collective we, the us in all of us. Thank you to my senior management team whose vigilant stewardship of these precious resources powers our momentum while paying heed to the financial challenges of the citizens and business owners of Rochester, especially to the person you'll hear from shortly, my budget director, Suzanne Warren, who will provide a more detailed review of the budget proposal in a few moments. Once again, the release of our budget proposal falls on Public Service Recognition Week, which is very appropriate coincidence because this budget reflects the hard work and dedication of the entire city workforce, which I'm also very grateful for. I also want to thank, as well, City Council President Miguel Melendez Jr., Finance Committee Chair Mitch Gruber, and all the members of City Council who provide the oversight that helps ensure these funds are used in the most effective and efficient manner possible. I also want to thank and give a great shout out to Kathy Hochul and our representatives in the U.S. Congress and our state legislative delegation. From their advocacy in Washington, where I just was 2 days ago, that's another press conference, and Albany to ensuring the needs of Rochester get the attention they deserve. Likewise, I'm grateful to County Executive Adam Bello and his team for continuing the strong collaboration between the county and city. Rochester and Monroe County are known in our state capital as the only city and county in the state that submits a unified legislative agenda during each year's budget cycle, and that unity helps propel the momentum that Rochester is currently moving forward. And we'll have some announcements on state budget stuff at a later date. I also want to thank our many partners from the Rochester's nonprofit and human service sector, whose collaboration with my administration brings a multiplying effect to the work we do on behalf of the people of Rochester, especially our most vulnerable residents. As Washington threatens to cut our share of the federal taxpayer funding, notice I say taxpayer, we send more money to Washington than we get back. It was only 2 years that we didn't, and that was doing ARPA. We will rely more and more on the strength of these relationships. Partnerships like our Rock Resilience Roundtable, where we're building the framework to be ready for any cuts that might materialize, will be critical to ensuring our city continues to thrive. And finally, I want to thank the citizens and business owners of Rochester who entrust us with the resources that are meticulously accounted for in this budget. We fully understand that they're also making very difficult choices with their own budgets, which is why, once again, we entered the budget process with a commitment to hold the tax levy flat without cutting important programs and services. The people we serve do much more than benefit from the momentum we're building. They're contributing to it in ways that are becoming more evident every day. And I was reminded of this last week when we held our annual Clean Sweep event. Now, that was a cold, rainy day, and many of you were there. Despite that steady rain, that forced the Rochester Red Wings to postpone the typical post-clean sweep baseball game, still more than 3,000 residents and visitors set a new participation record when they signed up to help clean and beautify their neighborhoods. I speak for my entire team when I say that I was truly invigorated that day and filled with pride in our city. The proposed budget for the fiscal year 2025-26 is a momentum-building budget that advances our work to create a safe, equitable, and prosperous Rochester by inspiring hope and delivering opportunity for everyone. Overall, it calls for almost $681 million in spending, which is a decrease of just over $27 million from the current year's budget. The majority of that decrease, about $21 million, comes from wrapping up spending on our allotment of the American Rescue Plan Act. So ARPA is going bye-bye. We recognized from the beginning that this was a one-time funding stream, and we responsibly use those ARPA dollars for meaningful investments and not to cover operating expenses or create recurring long-term financial commitments. And I'm glad we did that. The remaining $6 million in cuts reflects a determined focus to identify efficiencies in our operating budget and capital improvement program. We're relying on more data to prioritize and scale these investments. We are doing what we need to do when we need to do it at the amount that's absolutely necessary. This is fiscal prudence that I mentioned earlier that enables us to keep the tax levy flat for the fourth straight year. This budget also includes no fee increases for refuse and local works funds. It does, however, include a slight increase in our water service fee, which works out to less than $5 on the average water bill. As I've said before, the massive water main break in 2022, which prompted a boil water advisory just a few days before Christmas, was a wake-up call. Communities across the nation are suffering the consequences of deferring maintenance on their aging and crumbling water infrastructure, putting the health of their citizens at risk. And I am determined to make sure that we don't join them. So we will invest in our water. The water fee increases will also help us fund our continued progress towards our removal of every single lead service line in city homes by 2030, which we are on track to meet. Just like our previous budgets, this year's spending plan once again reflects public safety as our #1 priority, because you can't have prosperity if you don't have equity, and you can't have equity if you don't have safety. Some of our new public safety investments in this budget include a new youth reentry program that provides support services to help young people escape the cycle of recidivism. I know my buddy Vic is looking up there, and I know he's happy about that. Funding for our new action team, which will roll out this fall, creating an alternative response service for non-urgent, non-violent calls for service to our 911 call center. And we're going to keep building on the momentum that's driving the dramatic year-over-year declines in gun violence. These projects and initiatives include the innovative strategies of the Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Initiative, the specialty safety zones in the East End Entertainment District on Saturday nights, holding 2 police academy classes of 25 recruits each to fill historic vacancies in the Rochester Police Department, and also having a recruit class for the fire department. Continuing the work of the Rochester Peace Collective with remaining ARPA funds. Continuing the work of the Advanced Peacemaker Fellowship with city funding that was used by ARPA before, but now we're using local funds. Providing social-emotional health support services for young people in our centers. And the addition of the new esports. I think Mr. Finale, you wrote about my esports gaming lounge, but now the addition of a new esports gaming lounge at the Jackson R Center, which is part of our effort to ensure our centers remain attractive safe havens for city youth. Public safety extends beyond crime reduction and law enforcement, so funds to improve health and safety are also important, and they will include the new addition of a new fire lieutenant in the Rochester Fire Department to improve code compliance at high-risk properties. This is cross-functional between the fire department and neighborhood and business development. Investments in our ROC Vision Zero initiative to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries. And holding a fire academy for 28 firefighter recruits, construction of new kennels and lobby improvements at the Rochester Animal Services, and the addition of staff to expand lead paint inspections in city homes. As we make Rochester safer, we're also making it more equitable. Programs in the budget to accomplish that goal include the second annual Baldwin and Richardson Foods Frederick Douglass HBCU Classic Football Game in the fall, completing the Street Tree Initiative, which is closing the tree disparity between affluent and low-income neighborhoods and will allow me to earn my title of the Johnny Appleseed of mayors, and also improving notification and outreach for tax and delinquent homeowners to prevent foreclosures, and continuing the multi-pronged digital equity initiative in our library systems, including access to high-speed internet, on-demand courses, and free laptops upon completion of certain courses. Conducting the first full year of our RPL Go program to bring mobile library services to city neighborhoods, and expanding vending opportunities for historically underrepresented entrepreneurs at the Rochester Public Market in the International Plaza, and creating a new public arts coordinator to empower youth, foster engagement, and beautify urban spaces. We're also going to build momentum toward equity with investments to reduce blight and support investments in disadvantaged neighborhoods, including the popular, yes, my senior citizens, roof repair program, as well as the vacant rental improvement program. Investments to make Rochester more prosperous include our ongoing commitment to affordable home ownership with programs like Buy the Block, where I just was last Saturday at 2 houses that were just, we cut the ribbon on and someone's moving into it, and our partnership with First Genesis Development Corporation. Investing in affordable rental housing with progress of such developments as Gardner Lofts, Los Flamboyones, Center City Courtyard, and Fernwood Apartments, just to name a few. And rolling out our workforce development programs in skilled trades and entrepreneurship training for youth and adults. Launching the Our Future Fund to incentivize savings accounts for incoming kindergartners that will build through their high school graduations. And promoting sustainability and environmental engagement with the construction of the Maplewood Nature Center and Playground is included in this budget. And adding a 4th collection site for all you compostable folks, site for our organic and compostable refuse. We're also bringing in a new operator at the Blue Cross Arena at the Rochester War Memorial, which will expand programming and increase revenue. And we're going to make it easier for those looking to improve our built environment by combining zoning and permitting operations into one office and expanding the operating hours at our service counter. As you all know, City Hall is a big customer service center. It's just not the place where the mayor has his office. These are just some of the examples, just some, of our investments to keep building the momentum that's moving Rochester forward that you will find in this budget. As I said in my State of the City address a few weeks ago, we're not going to let momentum stall. Even with the uncertainty that is taking place at the federal stage, we're going to keep moving Rochester forward by being nimble and resilient. We're going to plan for the best and prepare for the worst, and I do have a doomsday scenario, by drawing inspiration from the words of the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I said this in my State of the City. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. This budget is our roadmap to keep moving forward, to keep moving Rochester forward with a new momentum, no matter what we find ourselves up against. And I want to thank you all for coming here today. And now I'd like to invite our budget director, Suzanne Warren, to the podium to provide a more detailed look into how we drafted the budget and what it contains. So this is the numbers person. I'm a numbers guy too, by the way, former banker, but also Suzanne Warren. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, and thank you for everyone joining us this morning. I want to start off by saying thank you to the mayor for his support during this budget process. It was a very challenging year, but we came out on the other side with what I consider a great budget in light of such uncertain times. I'd also like to thank the deputy mayor for always having an open door for me. I use it a lot. I also want to recognize the efforts of my senior management team colleagues during this budget process. It has been an interesting year, and their cooperation and collaboration helped to make it much easier. Lastly, I can't thank my team and OMB enough who helped put this budget together and dedicated a lot of time and effort and skill into this. I'd like to recognize our Assistant Director, Sarah Boyce, and our dedicated team of analysts, Christina Heiligenthaler, Chevy Lewis, Emily Lohner, Sarah Ruckberg, Josephus Tisdale, and our lost analyst, Ijoma Bridges. I'd also like to thank Bill Gillen from our print shop for support in printing our budget books. I want to remind everyone that you can access the 25-26 budget on our website, www.cityofrochester.gov/budget. From there, you can access the budget in two different formats, an online interactive version in OpenGov and a searchable PDF format. We encourage you to use the online version in OpenGov, which has more functionality, allowing you to drill down to budget line item detail. It's also more accessible because you can convert it into different languages, and it also includes an interactive map in our capital improvement section, so you can see where our investments are going. Our 25-26 proposed budget calls for $680.5 million in spending, a decrease of $27.1 million or 3.8% lower than the 24-25 amended budget of $687.9 million. Much of that reduction, as the mayor said, approximately $20.7 million, comes from ARPA expenditures that at this point are all encumbered and must be fully spent by December 31st, 2026, or return to the U.S. Treasury. We plan to spend all these funds to the benefit of Rochester and not return $1. The remaining $6.3 million is a net reduction that results from reducing operating budget expenditures and the cash capital portion of our capital improvement program in order to deal with large increases in pension and healthcare costs in the face of declining revenues. As the mayor previously mentioned, our 25-26 proposed budget contains no increase to our property tax levy. The mayor simply did not want to pass on the higher cost of government in the form of pension and health care to families who are already making difficult choices in their spending. Despite not raising the tax levy, the state-mandated tax shift will cause the homestead tax rate to increase 1.7%, or approximately $2.30 per month for the typical home assessed at $145,000. This shift results from the continued growth in the value of our residential housing market in comparison to commercial properties. I do often check the Greater Rochester Association of Realtors website, and they have a great page dedicated to just home sales statistics. I looked earlier this week, and the median sales price for single-family homes in the city of Rochester is up 28.9% compared to last April. Just 1 year's difference. Our housing market just does not stop. On the other side, the typical business will see a decrease of $414.66, or $34.55 per month when they receive their tax bill. This is the impact of growth in values combined with the results of the tax shift for them. As the mayor mentioned, again this year we are proposing no increased user fees associated with refuse or trash collection and local works, which are road and sidewalk snow removal, on the tax bills of homeowners and businesses. We do find it necessary to raise water rates, for which the typical homeowner using 60,000 gallons of water per year will see an increase of $18.26, or approximately $1.52 per month. We need to keep investing in our aging water infrastructure to ensure its safety and reliability, as well as maintain the water quality our residents deserve. This budget estimates we will collect a little under $203.4 million in sales tax, which is actually a decrease of $3.8 million from our 24-25 budget of $207.2 million. As we look to balance the budget, we were faced with declining sales tax revenues as consumer spending had tapered off in the face of high inflation. Interest rates are on the decline, which is great for home buyers, but ultimately provides less earnings on the city's investments, resulting in another $3.2 million in lost revenue to the city. I do believe the state budget has now passed, so the one-time temporary municipal assistance that the governor had proposed in her executive budget will come through to us. So we'll look for other investments that may be coming that we were unaware of since the budget was passed so late. As I mentioned earlier, we were faced with higher pension costs as New York State raised rates and healthcare costs continue to rise. These charts are very small, but I think you can tell we don't foresee any reduction in the out years for these two areas. As a result of the increases that we were faced with this year, we challenged our senior management team to find efficiencies to help offset these costs, and they delivered over $10 million worth. Our 25-26 proposed budget includes a net increase of 11 full-time positions. The majority of these positions are related to grants from Monroe County for lead compliance and digital equity programming. A part-time public arts coordinator is converted to full-time thanks to grant funds from the New York State Council on the Arts. Another 4 full-time positions are added for the Neighbors in Action or NEA program, with another 2 added under the supervision of the Chief Data Officer. The remaining net reduction of 3 positions is a result of departmental restructuring or other efficiencies. After considering all these impacts to expense and revenue, this budget proposes to use $25.8 million in fund balance, which is $3.3 million less than what was used in the current year. We expect to restore, at a minimum, 25% of the $28 million that we used in 24-25 due to lower spending. Our fiscal prudence and history of conservative financial management practices allows us to be in this position where we can balance the budget without an increase to the tax levy and still adhere to the required fund balance minimum of 12.5% of general fund expenditures per city policy. In the end, our 25-26 proposed budget process closed the all funds gap projected in our 24-25 budget, which started out at $97.5 million, but grew even larger in the fall when we learned what was happening with pension and health care. We were able to find sufficient efficiencies to still make meaningful investments in all of the administration's key priority areas. We reduced current year cash capital, but will still be able to proceed with funding essential projects through debt and capital balances remaining from prior years, and the use of fund balance that we just discussed. Further information on how we close the budget gap is found in the summary of all funds gap closure, which is located at the end of the mayor's message in the budget book. Before we end today, I'd like to acknowledge that many communities use their ARPA allocations to plug holes in their budget. Rochester used very little of our ARPA funding as revenue replacement and instead focused on meaningful investments and building capacity through our community. If you have a chance, please go to our ARPA website, and you can www.cityofrochester.gov/ARPA, and check out the great interactive map that was put together by Sarah Boyce and Christina Heiligenthaler in concert with Allison Martin from DES to see all the investments that were made and where they were made. It's a great tool to see what we've done and what we continue to do with these funds. Our next steps will be a series of public hearings held by City Council on the proposed budget. Those dates are May 28th, 29th, and 30th. Each day of the hearings will be broken into sessions reviewing specific departments and chapters in the budget, which you can watch on City 12 TV, actually located on channel 1303, as well as on the city's YouTube channel. I have the schedule day by day and by department if you would like a copy. Thank you again for coming this morning, and with that, I will now turn it back over to the mayor.
Let me just thank again Suzanne for her great stewardship of this process, and of course all of my senior management team that is here. This was not an easy process this year. Of 4 years of being mayor, this was the toughest year in terms of a budget because of all of the uncertainty and challenges that we have that are external, not internal. We can manage ourselves, but when you have external threats knocking at your door, it makes our job that much harder. But through hard work and collaboration, we can weather these storms and still deliver on services that are important to the community. And I'm glad that not only did we maintain services, we also expanded services, which is not difficult to do. Again, I want to thank you all for coming here. Our thoughts are with all of my colleagues at City Hall. We lost a very, very good friend and good colleague in Victor Saunders, as well as his family. And a lot of the things that are in this budget are things that Victor helped us launch when he first came to City Hall with me in 2022. So City Hall won't be the same without him here, but the work that he helped me put together is all throughout this budget. The advanced piece, expansion, Rochester Peace Collective, expanding pathways to peace. All those things are in our budget, and that work will continue, and we'll do it in Victor's honor. So I thank you all for coming. I know that those of you that are eggheads, I think you're doing a more in-depth presentation of numbers. And I also just want to urge folks to really go and look at the budget. I mean, we try to be extremely transparent on what we're doing in our budget, including that ARPA tool. Ms. Boyce spent a lot of time on that. So I really hope someone does some stories on the ARPA tool, because we really did what a lot of cities didn't do. We were very judicious, and we tracked every single penny, and we didn't make sure that we spend it on operating costs, and then when it goes away, what do you do? So we were very judicious on that. So please look on that. That's a good tip. I'm giving every news station, that's a good tip to do a story on ARPA. It's gone, and you can see like how our cities and municipalities now handling that. So I thank you all for being here today, and onward and upward, and good budget, hard work, and more to come as we go through this process. Thank you, everybody.